Hello everybody, welcome back to another weekly market review for F45 trading. This week is the last week of October already. I can't believe how quickly October went by. We're talking the 28th, Monday the 28th to Friday, November 1st. So happy Halloween to everybody, obviously in North America. Coming up this Thursday, and I'm going to start with the economic calendar here real quick. Couple of landmines that you definitely need to be aware of. Starting Monday, and this is a tentative vote, we have a parliamentary Brexit vote, and just more conditions. I don't believe this isn't like a major one to say whether or not they're going to reject or do it or not type of thing. This is just more so on how they're going to leave the European Union, and right now it looks like they're forecasting to reject it, so we'll see how that pans out. The last, I believe, 3 they have rejected, or 2 they've rejected, and there seems to be one of these votes. There's been about 3 or 4 votes so far in October, and originally they were going to have the drop dead date by October 31st. They've since extended that until January of next year. And again, they're going to have several of these votes from now until then as well. And so the saga continues. But just please be aware of cable going into Monday. You could see a little bit of jumping around because of this parliamentary vote. Going into Tuesday, excuse me. Going into Tuesday, we have Australian dollar Governor Lowe speaking at 2:45 a.m. to kick off the day. And then we've got CB consumer confidence and more Australian dollar news late Tuesday evening, North American time. Obviously, this is early in the day, Australian time, but just CPI and the trimmed mean CPI for Australian dollar. So you should see high impact news events. You should see Australian dollar do a little bit of jumping. And we'll talk about that one as well too here in a minute. Excuse me. For Wednesday, very, very eventful, lots of high impact news events. Starting out with medium impact Euro German prelims, going into, and that's the first part of it. We go into US dollar, really not a whole lot of news coming out in London Open. And then New York Open, we've got 8:15 a.m. We start with ADP non-farm equipment changes, advanced GDP, and then we work our way into Canadian dollar at 10 a.m. New York time with the monetary policy statement. So keep in mind, if you are a Canadian dollar trader, you definitely don't want to have any live positions open while this news is going on. They're going to do the interest rate announcement. Now keep in mind that they're not projecting. Canadian dollar just had an interest rate reduction last month, where they dropped at a 1/4 basis point. So just keep in mind they're not forecasting another one. There could be one more for the end of the year, but we'll have to wait and see on that. But just keep in mind though that is happening Wednesday, mid New York Open, so be mindful of that. And then we've got FOMC statement, federal funds rate later that day. Now this is the big one. This is the one that's really going to start jarring things around. The US dollar is scheduling another interest rate reduction by a 1/4 basis point. So what's that going to do to the dollar? It's going to move it. It's probably going to jump it around. So just keep in mind, Wednesday is going to be a very tough day to trade. If you are going to trade Wednesday, I would definitely recommend you start closing your trades obviously FOMC statements coming out at 2 p.m. Now this is obviously later in the day, so you can still definitely take part in a lot of the day up until that, but I definitely would highly avoid trading anywhere on this news. And then more Australian dollar news, and then I typically don't have yen news on, but there is a monetary policy statement, so I thought I'd throw that up on the charts for you guys just in case there are any yen charities out there. Keep in mind, Wednesday is going to be a rough day. A lot of volatility in the markets, and I definitely, if you are going to trade it, make sure you're aware when these are happening. Thursday calms down a little bit. We have medium impact news event for, again, the yen and the euro, and then we have GdpUsd numbers for Canadian dollar, personal spending, core PCE price index, and employment cost index for the US dollar, all at 8:30 a.m. New York time. I'm assuming after the big movement that's going to be happening on Wednesday, Thursday of this week, we'll probably see a little bit of consolidation, probably pretty tight ranges on the day, so probably not a whole lot of action. You may have the one pair here or one pair there that maybe tries to break out for a run, but I think for the most part, any US-based currency baskets are going to probably be consolidating because we've got a Euro holiday, French and Italian bank holiday, and then we've got US dollar non-farm numbers and ISM manufacturing numbers coming out Friday morning, and this one will be obviously, it could be muted. I mean, it certainly has been muted the past couple of months, but we all know and we've all seen that non-farm can obviously be a bit of a roller coaster, so you definitely want to watch out for that. And like I was saying earlier, if you are going to be trading this week, maybe I didn't mention, if you are going to be trading this week, I would highly recommend you stay away from any GBP pound related pairs because on Monday because of the Brexit vote, and watch out for Wednesday because it's all monetary policy news events. So if you are going to trade, I would trade maybe Monday into Tuesday, and I would have all of my trades closed that are US based by well before this time frame, New York time. Okay, so let's jump into charts real quick. I spent enough time on that. US dollar, we had made a very, very nice push higher off of this run below these lows right here. We saw a big bounce, and I did mention that to you guys. Once we came back into this area here, more than likely we would spend quite a bit of time in here. And we did the first part of the week. We came down, shot down one more time, and then basically went straight sideways for 1, 2, 3, 4 days until this candle broke out. That was last Thursday, and I was hoping that this candle right here on Thursday was going to be the high, running back up into these lows here, but you can see Friday pushed up one more time, and now Monday, well, at the time of this recording it's Sunday, Monday hasn't quite come around yet, but we are trading higher. I'm fully expecting them to run all the way up to high 97s, about 97.80 though, 97.85, somewhere in around there. I'd like to see them start to cool off a little bit and potentially run back the other way, and that just basically brings us back into these lows here, and I've kind of got this covering it a little bit. I'm sort of looking for a run above this high here, so I don't know what this is on your charts, but the high on October 17th, I think we're going to see the price move up in and try to eclipse that. And then we'll see what happens when they get back into this sort of range in price here. But I wouldn't be expecting a whole lot more than that. Now, again, it is NFP and it is monetary statement fund rate, and they are planning on dropping the rate. So do we shoot up into here Monday, Tuesday, and then Wednesday's news drive us down this way, or do we just do this? That's the other alternative. Okay, I don't know what's is going to hold it back. I just know we are going to trade higher. How much higher? I don't want to see this thing going up into 98. If it goes into 98, then I believe we're probably going to abandon the bearish side of the US dollar for a bit, and we'll probably try to run for these highs here. But I think there's a pretty good chance somewhere in this neck of the woods. And if you look at where price is in here, right, there's a lot of time spent in here. And so I wouldn't be surprised if they came up and spent a day or two in here pre FOMC release and pre-NFP release and start to push lower from there. Sorry, if you see some hesitation before that, there could be a good chance that it may not want to run through. So watch out for that. This is the setup that I'm looking for. I'd like to see price. We really pushed down in here. I'm hoping that this wasn't the low, that it was just a quick rejection off of here. But I'd like to see them do this ultimately and try to get underneath these lows here. But again, it's a very, very big week. Maybe next week they'll do that. Maybe they'll just sit here and consolidate this thing all week long, and then next week we'll start running for those lows. I don't know exactly. I'm just trying to tell you the areas to watch. If you see price go anywhere above 98, as mentioned, we'll even say 98.05 just to give it a, a pip or two, just in case. Anything over 98.05, that's my line in the sand. We're going to go bullish. I think price will run up into here Monday, Tuesday, and then I'll be watching very closely to see how close we get up to this number here. And I'm talking closing on the daily. Price can wick up in past this, of course, on the daily chart and then reject, and it would still fall lower without a problem. But if price closes above 98, then I believe at 98.05, then I believe we'll probably see price push higher. Okay, so that's what we've got on the U.S. dollar. Looking at the euro, let me go to a daily chart. I was really looking for price to push up into here last week and really continue this, but I did mention, again, very similar to what the dollar was doing, we would probably see a little bit of resistance forming off of these highs here that it created when price jammed back up into these lows, and that's exactly what we saw. Price running back down. So very similar to the U.S. dollar. I'll grab this. If the U.S. dollar breaks that 98.05 level that I mentioned, then the Euro USD will come trading lower than this, and we could try to run out this low. Now, what I like about this versus the U.S. dollar, you see the two highs, the two equal highs of the U.S. dollar made, and then you see the euro, how it came down, made one high, one low, second low, very equal lows, and then that third low shot through it, ran all the stops, and rejected. In my mind, this is very bullish, this price action rate in here, which we obviously saw. Very short-term bullishness. Now, I'd like to see this continue higher, which is kind of why I feel like we're probably going to see a bounce on the U.S. dollar and going lower. Again, they're dropping interest rates, so that doesn't bode too well for the dollar. There's a lot of talk out there about the Fed weakening the dollar, because it's getting too strong. There's a lot of other factors out there, and I'll talk about it with oil here in a few minutes, but just a heads up that there's a lot of countries out there trying to buy their oil without the U.S. dollar, the greenback, buying it in euros and things like that. And so that's not very good for the U.S. dollar. So I believe what we're going to see is we're probably going to see price come down Monday, maybe into Tuesday, maybe even into Wednesday on euro, and then we're probably going to see something like that. That's what I would like to see. That's what I've got my bias set to. If, however, we break and close lower than 110, I'll dial this in. I'd like to say 110.30, but 110.25, I think, just to give you a err on the side of caution of 5 or 10 pips or so. I don't want to see them go any lower than that. If we go lower than 110.25, close lower than 110.25 on the daily, then there's a very good chance that we could be making a new low on Euro USD. Okay, and I'm going to have to leave it at that for now in terms of getting too detailed, because it's a very, very volatile week. There's going to be lots of stuff happening in the markets this week. My members obviously will get it firsthand as it's happening daily, as prices running the levels that I'm looking at. But for this, it's going to have to be a very, very, very high level overview. This is about all we're looking for here. Okay. GBP, again, not looking to do anything with this guy here this week, just because going into Monday, because obviously the Brexit stuff, the parliamentary votes happening. I am looking for further declines, though, in pound dollar. I think there's a very good chance we could revisit this area in here, which basically is a run below this low from last week, and potentially these lows in here. And I think price will probably want to rebalance somewhere in this neck of the woods. However, again, I really don't want to see price go lower than 125.60. Now, I know that's quite a ways away from where we currently are right here. 300 pips, just a little under 300 pips. But when the pound wants to move, it can really move. And you look, that's 300 pips right there. We did that in 1 week. It didn't even take a week, last week. There's 2 weeks ago. So, and you can see this week, last week was a very, very tight range. I'm looking for further downside on cable for this week, but I would like to start to see them pick up some support in this area, and ultimately I'm looking for 13200. Okay, so that's sort of where I'm going with that. But again, I'm not going to be doing a whole lot with cable, only because of the news coming out for Monday. And then again, the window for cable would be very small. You'd have a period of time for Tuesday and maybe part of Wednesday morning London Open to early New York Open where this thing might be tradable. I definitely wouldn't be holding any cable over FOMC news, and definitely not into NFP, okay, on Friday. So just keep an eye on that one. But I am expecting a little bit more downside on the cable, or pound dollar, I guess you could say. Now the other thing this thing could do is it could also shoot up right above here. We do have some equal highs. They'll probably leave these guys up here, but what could happen is if they could consolidate this thing and then just quickly shoot above and then run below. But I am looking for lower prices on cable. Again, I don't think we're going to get super too high this week on cable until FOMC comes out and until NFP numbers come out on cable. I don't think this thing is going to turn and run higher. Ultimately, yes, I believe we'll be up here. Probably won't get there until the end of the year though, or into November sometime. So I think October is going to close a little bit lower, but still big October. This month ran. I mean, look at that. I mean, it was a 800 pip month in October. So I hope some of you guys got a piece of that. Euro GBP real quickly. Again, as I mentioned, Euro GBP, we are going to go lower. I believe we're going to hit these lows under here in stunning fashion. And you can see though, again, consolidation periods lead to more consolidation periods. And you can see how long they spent over here. We're doing the same thing again. And again, watch, like, same thing. We consolidated here. Look what it did in here and in here. Right, so that's what happens when you hit these tight little areas. Price returns back to them and typically does it again. So just watch out for that. Right, in here, in here consolidated, in here consolidated. So lots of high confluences in those areas. So I mentioned this to you, and more than likely, what's going to be a little bit more time. More than likely the rest of this week before it finally breaks out of this range. I am looking for downward price action. And I think before the end of this year, I believe the Euro GBP will be down here. And, ultimately, I mean, we could be under these lows by the end of the year. I don't know. But we're just going to worry about these lows for now. And how much higher does it go? Well, you look at these wicks that this thing is put in here, some big daily ranges on these wicks. And they're coming all the way up. They don't seem to be breaking this high or this candle, those two lows in there. They don't seem to be breaking that. Keep your eye on that. We could shoot back up in there one more time and then run lower. And if we do that, again, that would lead the cable to shoot back down into this level down here that I think it's probably going to go back down into. Okay, so just watch that. Those are the three main pairs that I'm looking at. UsCad, bit of a mess last week to trade. We had Monday was the big down day. By the way, right here, do you see this? Right in here, the return rate up into this candle. Right here. I said on Tuesday to my members group that price was going to shoot up into here and sell off, and that's exactly what that did. You can see the bearishness that we saw last week with UsCad, albeit a very tight range bearish week. Pretty ugly to trade. This is exactly the trade that I was looking for. It happened perfectly, and away you go. So, like I say, last week was, if you were watching the markets, you definitely could have been profitable last week. There was a couple of great trades there that were available. Going forward, UsCad, I think will be at underneath these levels here at 130.15 and lower. But again, with just going on, what's going on this week, it's going to take a couple more days to get down there, I believe. But I think by the end of this week, we'll probably be under here. With that Canadian dollar interest rate statement out on Wednesday, FOMC interest rate statement for the U.S. Fed on Wednesday, and then NFP on Friday, and more high-level Canadian news on Friday. I just don't see them doing anything but continuing lower. What changes that? If we start trading above this area in here, then all bets are off. Then I believe we could be resuming higher if that's the case. But price really has to gain some strength and momentum in order to get up into there. Okay, I think the likely area is that they're going to drop below here, and mainly because you take the middle of that range to where we currently are, it's 150 pips versus the low range here to where we currently are, it's 50 pips. It's a lot easier for them to drop this thing lower and scoop up this liquidity, even if it's just for a minute. Even if they just drop down, reject, and then go higher, great. They still took out those lows, and that's what I'm looking for. So the problem is, like I say, is where, how much higher do we go here before price starts rolling over and getting into there? It could be all of Monday. We do have some highs up in here. We do have highs right up in here. I don't think that that's going to be a concern, just because they had the chance to do that on Tuesday of last week right here, and they didn't do that, and price sold off. So Canadian dollar is making this nice little run up into here right now. I don't necessarily think it's going to break that high there, but just watch it, because we do have equal highs in here that they could certainly run. But that is quite a ways away again. But anything's possible. It's a lot of volatility this week, so just keep your eye on that if you are going to trade UsCad. Australian dollar had a nice little tradable bounce on Friday, Thursday and Friday. Price came in, and I mentioned this in the free section last Sunday. I said keep your eye on the high of this candle here. Price traded up, came back down, expanded through, failed to get above here, and I said this is going to be a little bounce right in there, and you can see price ran right into it on Friday and bounced. Not much. I mean, we're not talking tons. I think it was about 25-30 pips. But, I mean, hey, if that's all you did for the week, got 30 pips each trade like that, you'd be very, very profitable. Now you can see prices starting to fall back off a little bit there. Again, if we do get some buying on US dollar and we see price start to leak up into here, it will push Australian dollar down, and more than likely, I don't see Australian dollar coming anywhere below here. Like I think that there's a lot of support in this range between these two levels, between 68.10 and 67, call it 60. That 40 pips in there. There's a lot of areas of support in there, and I believe price will rebound. They could come down, stab down quite deep into this, 20-30 pips into this range in here, and then just turn around and go right back the other way. That's certainly possible, but there's lots of areas above here where I'm looking for Australian dollar to come and run up into. There was a nice tradable bounce on last Friday, and I am looking for continued bullish prices on Australian dollar. However, again, we could, for the next day or two, run bearish prices. We could run and sweep below these lows in here, and ultimately maybe try to get below this line and maybe trade back into this little block of price in here. So we'll see what happens on Australian dollar. But a nice little trade there anyway for Friday, if any of you guys got that. And then finally, real quickly, gold made a nice little pop and run up here on gold. I'd really like to see gold start to break out again and just break out of this range and trade higher. If we do see that, we should see the US dollar really start to trade south and make a run lower. But so far, we're still caught in this range. So honestly, until we break above that high on gold, I'm not going to be bullish until we get out of that range. And if we trade below that low rate there, then I would be bearish on on gold. But until we're done trading in this range right here, it's pretty hard to say what's going to happen. Okay. Crude oil. I was wrong on crude oil last week. I was looking for price to run a little bit higher, and if you go back to my Sunday's edition last week, I said I want to see crude trade lower. I do believe we are still going to see bearish prices before the end of this year, and I believe we are going to see this level here run out on crude oil, this $50 level. I think we're going to trade into the high 49s on crude oil before the end of this year, but it looks like they want to rally one last time before they do that. They're really bringing in the narrative that this is support down here, and there's a lot of buyers down here that are stepping into the market. Now, certainly we could continue to go higher. Let me go to a 4-hour. We could just run up and pop above these highs here and then reject and go lower. I'm going to be watching for that, but there are highs and there is an area of price up in this swing that they could try to run back up into. So I'm going to be watching for that, and specifically right about the 6150 level. I'll be watching to see if they want to extend up to there. Like that level to me is it's you know, basically right back up into this consolidation level in here. If they really want to get bullish crude oil, that could be where they're going to. I don't think they're going to go much higher than that if they do get up there at all. The other area, a major area of resistance, is going to be right in here. This consolidation level, they could just skirt right back up into there early in the week and then dump price. But I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt because I was a little too heavily bearish the past 2 weeks on this, and we really didn't go anywhere these 2 weeks. For most of October, haven't gone anywhere, and then they just shot price up here middle of last week, right into this range again. And I thought this was going to be the high rate here. So when price ran right in the middle of this range, I thought that was going to be it, and then they just briefly came down and shot up again. So that kind of leads me to believe that this isn't going to offer the resistance that I wanted, and we could see one more level above, and we'll see where it goes from there. So I'm not going to jump on the bearish bandwagon yet for crude oil. A lot of things weighing it down. There's a lot of negativity around crude oil right now, and I don't think we're going to see this thing escalate higher yet. But ultimately, I think we'll be into the $70 barrel range on crude oil in the next couple of years. But there's a lot of things that need to happen before then. We got to get through this year first, and before we get through this year, I honestly and truly believe that this $50 level is going to get run through. So just keep an eye on that, folks. Be careful with crude oil and with a lot of other pairs as well. But I think we're probably going to see, like I say, I think we'll probably just see price trade a little bit weaker here coming into Monday, and then we'll probably pop up and like I say, run back up into this level there. So that's it. I wanted to try and keep this short and sweet. If you guys have any other questions, if you're a member, please go ahead and throw it in the chat room. I'll be watching for that. It'll be in the charts all of Monday and Tuesday. And then if you are not a member and you're watching this for free on my YouTube channel, please go ahead and click subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. Give it a like if you like what you saw, if we're helping you at all. Or if you want some more information, please go right here to f45trading.com and check out our website. There's several options there for you to take advantage of, and several ways to get involved in our group. And there's a lot of advantages to it, obviously. I talk about the markets daily. There's a lot of great information there, and I do these live reviews on a regular basis. So I think it will definitely help improve your trading if you're struggling right now. So with that, thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend, and have an awesome week. And be careful on that news, guys. It's going to be a very interesting week. We'll talk to you soon.